The topic of this talk is shielding on field. Yoga Sutra 2.40 says, Shauchat Swangajugupsa Parir Asamsarga. It means by establishing the principle of Shaucha, which is an aesthetic structuring to own field, there is an active sense of a field of protecting one's own system and not interacting with what is external. I read an English translation here. Shauchat, from aesthetics of inner and outer form, emerges Swangajugupsa, active protection of oneself and own fields, Parer Asamsarga, and non-engagement of the external. In the context, the word Paramtapa may be pondered. Paramtapa, the Sanskrit form is given there. It literally means one who burns down the external. The word is translated as hero, and it is a term that one finds often in the Mahabharata. The Buddhists speak of Kaya Viveka, Chitta Viveka, and so forth in their analysis. Kaya means the body, Chitta is the organ of the mind, which in physical form is a brain structure that is of more than one dimension, of more than this particular dimensional space, three-dimensional space, of more than this particular three-dimensional space. It's a collapsed view of an n-dimensional structure that one sees as own brain form. So the Buddhists speak of Kaya Viveka, Chitta Viveka, and so forth. Kaya means the body. Means an intelligent discrimination, an analytical discrimination. In practice, the Buddhists do shield themselves away from the world in their practice and so forth. You could research these ideas in greater detail by yourself. Ananga means a unit. A unit could be anything. The body as a unit, its organs are units, the brain is a unit, the fields of the body form a unit, and so on. So, what is own system as a whole unit needs to be protected. What is own body needs to be protected. Own fields need to be protected. The entire field needs to have that structuring. Own field needs to be so structured that it protects oneself. For, for any system to evolve and grow, it needs shielding, it needs nourishment, and so on. It applies to even machines. If a machine is designed, there needs to be mechanisms that ensure it can function properly, that it is shielded from the world. It applies to kingdoms, and it applies definitely to individuals, and so on. The human field needs to have that form of inward turning structure if to evolve, if to grow. The awareness is continually binding to what is of the nature of appeared form of outward world. Then not only will be the form weak, own structuring weak, there will also be a continual sense of psychological unease or less than an ideal state, because the forms of the world are continually altering, and there is what is less than the ideal perception of the beyond in what appears as the world forms. So the awareness is so structured or by force of habit, by ideas that are imbibed, it tends to seek out um, binding to outward world forms. It results in a sense of what is not ease, an unideal state. And by that habit, the awareness continually seeks its solution in world forms, and it does not realize what is producing its sense of unease. So, to structure the ideal, the awareness has to be trained to hold own frame. It has to be trained to go inward and to not bind to outward world forms. Like there are analogies you'll find in ancient traditions, like water falling on a leaf or the petal of a lotus does not stain the lotus. At the same time, a strong sense of what is within, that which is beyond form, needs to be established in own frame of awareness. New Age social ideas are designed to destroy people's fields. The human field was not designed to perpetually situate itself amongst the crowds, amongst a thousand friends, quote unquote friends, or to air daily incidents on a social media, or to be interested in daily incidents of a thousand other people. Those are patterns that weaken the psyche, and that it does weaken the psyche, that social media has a measurable, definitive, negative, unideal impact on the psyche, is by now known to the academia as well. You'll find research papers saying that. There are false religious values that tell people that being spiritual or religious is about somehow turning weak, weakening own field, the awareness continually going outward. Such a person is of no good to oneself, no good to, and if one is no good to oneself, how can one be of good to anybody? Only when an individual is strong can the individual have a strong, good impact on society. Taylor writes in Ode to Joy that joy is the name of the strong fount in eternal nature. That which is established in the eternal is strong. The nature of the joyousness that appears within is extremely strong and of the nature that it cannot be disrupted by the world. There are forces that function in the world. There have always been such forces that function in the world, um, as have been documented in what is now labeled mythology, folklore, and so on, that seek to disrupt and weaken the human fields. It is those forces at play that bring out an education through formal education, through visual media, through the kind of ideas that are put into people's brains through a variety of means, forms and ideas that tend to trivialize what is important. Own growth, strong, strong fields, strong familial frameworks, and thus strong cities, strong kingdoms, Instead, people are always taught the solution lies somewhere far outside, thereby not even the awareness of where the structuring ought to occur. What is to be served by the awareness? What is to be held in the strong sense? That disappears. When the fields are weak, the joy principle immediately dwindles.